Hey, what's up, New Zealand and the world? Lucas Lawmans here at Kiwi Voice. Thanks for taking the time to tune in once again. First off, big shout out to everyone out there that's continuing to support, share the links, etc. We have just clocked over 4,000 followers, so really stoked with the way that the channel's continued to grow. Really appreciate all the love and support and DMs and comments and all of that stuff. Keep it up, team. Really stoked. Today, we're going to take a look at the latest Pfizer clinical trials data documents or data dump that occurred on the 1st of April. Now, this is, for those of you not familiar with this story, Pfizer conducted all these clinical trials as part of the development of the COVID-19 vaccine, the Comirnaty vaccine, and fought to actually suppress this information, including all the results of the clinical trials, first for 55 years and then for 75 years. Now, an American group by the name of Public Health and Medical Professionals for Transparency are a group that sued, essentially, or took Pfizer to court. Sued's not the right word, but they took Pfizer to court to have these documents released, asking the question, this is of public good. Now, ruled in their favour, the 75-year time frame, the nonsensical 75-year time frame of suppressing this information was limited down to the end of this year, with deadlines at the end, I think it is, of each month, if not each quarter, where they have to have the sections of the data released. Now, 11,000 pages, it's the second drop in this information, dropped on the 1st of April, and we're going to take a look at a couple of interesting points that are noted within that maybe 6 months ago, even 9 months ago, if you were talking about this, you were labelled, as is the way at the moment, as a conspiracy theorist, as a right-winger, as a anti-vaxxer, any of that stuff, when in reality, here it is, on paper, it's legit. This is what Pfizer knew all along. So you're going to find this one quite interesting. Grab yourself a coffee. Let's get into it. So, first one, and it's a big one, more so overseas, we didn't quite have the same issues here, but we still had the debate, and that is around natural immunity. Now, for a period here in New Zealand, like I say, it was much more stringent in the States. This was denied it even existed. And again, if you initiated a conversation where you stated that natural immunity from COVID-19 was a thing, then you were labelled all of those things as it's the way. Turns out natural immunity works, and Pfizer really did know that. Quoted from the documents, those who had previous infection had no difference in outcome than those vaccinated. Natural immunity was indeed shown to be identical in terms of protection against infection as vaccinations. So we have had that recognised now in New Zealand for a short period of time. If you get and register your COVID-19 infection in New Zealand and you recover, then you get now that the vaccine passes are dropped, but you had a vaccine pass, you were considered immune or protected for 3 months, but then you were back in the usual scheme of things. But rather than say that vaccination isn't required for people with prior infection, this is how Pfizer chose to word things in their study documents. Final efficacy results show that the vaccine provided protection against COVID-19 in participants with or without evidence of prior infection with SARS-CoV-2. So basically they're saying, even if you've been infected, you've got natural immunity, you should still take the vaccine, which, as we all know, is probably profit-driven. That's my opinion, but it seems fairly obvious from this. Another big thing, which obviously is a cause of a lot of pain and a lot of hurt for people across the country and the world. Now, I'm going to try and cover this as delicately as I can. It's around adverse reactions. Now, adverse reactions were shown to be more frequent and more severe in younger groups, according to Pfizer's own data in these documents. Reactogenicity and AEs, or adverse events, were generally milder and less frequent in participants in the older group compared with the younger group, and overall intended to increase with vaccine dose. So the more doses you got as a younger person, that is defined as 16 to 55. So they call the older group 55 and above. 16 to 55, the more doses you get, the more likely you are to have adverse events. Probably no surprise to a lot of people out there, but here it is in Pfizer's own documents. Again, we've got more to go, but will this get covered at all by the mainstream media? Will it be released to the public as information of public importance by the Ministry of Health? I don't think so. According to The Lancet, just to go off on the track and back up this point, according to the Lancet, 16-year-olds have a 99.993% chance of surviving COVID. Drops down to 99.943% when you're 30. When you're 50 years old, it's 99.572. So it's dropped down a little bit more. It doesn't drop below 99% until you're over 60. So it's probably information that we really needed to know and be purported a lot more rather than get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get vaccinated, get boosted. One real bombshell that was located within this 11,000 pages is not of the actual clinical trial data itself, but there was a consent form that was included. It was a consent form for a children's clinical trial for the Pfizer vaccine. Now, December the 15th, 2021, so 15 weeks ago, this consent form was produced. It's included in this data dump. It lists several possible side effects. Myocarditis as 10 in 100,000 people. Now, this is much higher than the reported 1 in 50,000 people, and it doesn't specify for gender or age. So if controlled for age and gender, the risk increases significantly, as you can imagine, from the 10 in 100,000. It goes up from there when you're looking at younger men from 12 to 40. Risks that have not been clearly articulated. We'll carry on. Consent form also states that effects on sperm and pregnancy, a fetus or nursing child is not knowing. This one was really disappointing for me and really upsetting when you look at some of the Ministry of Health guidelines and the persistent messaging in the MSN that has been pushing the safety for pregnant and nursing mothers. There's been multiple articles, the biggest culprit being The Whole Truth on Stuff's project that they've done around all of the COVID-19 vaccination information. They've parroted this info a lot from the Ministry of Health that it's completely safe, no issues whatsoever for pregnant mothers and nursing mothers. However, Pfizer's own clinical trial consent form says they don't know the effects on sperm, pregnancy, fetus, or nursing child. That's, to me, that's unbelievable. We'll carry on though. ADE, which is antibody-dependent reaction. That means it triggers a worse illness than what the person might otherwise expect. So it's like an autoimmune response. It pumps things up, pumps your immune system up, and then you crash. Dr. Robert Malone sounded the warning on this some time ago and, of course, was widely censored, demonized, smeared and labelled a conspiracy theorist, anti-vaxxer, all the usual stuff that I've already said multiple times in this video. However, here we are. This clearly shows that this is a possibility. The quote within the form says, although not seen to date, it cannot yet be ruled out that the study vaccine could make a later COVID-19 illness more severe. Now, again, it's not a definitive, this is happening, but they're not ruling it out. They can't rule it out. And we should have known this stuff. This is where the argument around informed consent has come from over the last couple of years. Another interesting bit of info out of this dump is as follows. We're going to close it off shortly, team. Clinical laboratory evaluation showed a transient decrease in lymphocytes that was observed in all age and dose groups after dose 1, which resolved within approximately 1 week. What this means is that the white blood cell counts drop and your immune system is much weaker for an entire week, according to these documents. So what that'll mean is you get the shot. For a week after you get the shot, your immune system's hopeless to you. You're more likely to catch it. You're more likely to actually have a much more severe or worse case of it, and then things pick back up more to normal after that week period. Have you ever heard that before? Has that been announced anywhere? I mean, we've talked about there being a 2-week period before you're considered fully vaccinated. This to me is important information, and we're only on dump 2, which is incredible. Let's keep an eye on the further dumps throughout the year. There'll be minimal reporting of it. You're going to have to go to alt media, and I'll do my best to collect it and bring it forward for you guys as well. What are your thoughts on all of this, team? Chuck it in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already yet. Share these links around. I'd really like to hear from you all regards this continued release of information from Pfizer's own data. Will anyone accept this? Will this be reported? If you talk to anyone in the mainstream that thinks the total opposite to this, how do you think they're going to react? These are really interesting times. Thanks once again, team. Appreciate you taking the time. I've enjoyed using my new mic. Spider Plant has not much to say once again, but hopefully we'll get something out of him in a later date. For now, team, stay safe, stay free, and we'll see you again real soon.